If you put yourself in the northern climates and think you're off point, the problem is the environment influence on you. The environmental influence on a person, weather, altitude, all these other things definitely has an influence on the human body. At the same time, though, I don't care where you live and what altitude you're at. When I put you on a raw food diet, when I put you on predominantly fruit diet, you all get better. Now, there are some people that are having a real hard time, and you have to hang in there. We have one young man just can't eat anything. And we have that, people that get so inflamed that they can't even drink water. Now, these are tough cases, and you got to work yourself through these cases. You have to use slippery elm, marshmallow, whatever you can, mullein, whatever you can for anti-inflammatories. There's nutrition in those, but you got to get that inflammation out of there, which means you got to get the acids out of there. And of course, this is the lymph system, and that goes to the kidneys and adrenals. So you've got to work on your clients all together here, and as gentle as you can with those that can't tolerate anything going down there. This is some of the problems with the IBSs and the Crohn's and things. It just doesn't stay there. It gets worse and worse and worse, and then you can get to the point where you can't tolerate anything going down that canal. Well, that's how God kind of put you into a fast, basically. So thank you, Latin sweetheart. Oh, this is 212, 212, 212. Hi, there's a good day. I have heard that nuts that contain a shell are actually a tumor and they're cancerous to eat. You know what, sweetheart? I've never heard that, but how interesting is that? I've often thought, again, I've said that the reason there's hard shells on a nut, in my opinion, is that so we don't overeat them. We just don't have anything aggressive. Now, we have the mind to create tools like the primates, but we create more than tools. Look at what all we created. But on the positive side, there's the negative side of what man's created, isn't there? And man is dying from the negative side of what he created, and all the chemistry he thought was so good for us is now coming and killing us. So this is the problem, and yet no one's willing to stand up and talk about it. You know, everybody's worried about re-elections and everything else instead of the reality. And what they don't understand is if you're really into truth and you work it, you'll get re-elected anyway, because people want those that are working for the folk, not for each other to put more money in their pockets. And whatever level you call that. I don't know what to say. I'm a tropical thinker, so I like coconuts. I don't like I just don't do nuts. The problem with nuts is I can just overdo them. I mix raisins with pecans or almonds. I sit there and eat handfuls, but then I don't feel so good. And I just don't like the texture and the way nuts are. But I love them. I mean, they all taste good to me. But with that said, minimal use of nuts would be advantageous. Now that somebody cracks them for us, we can eat them by the handfuls. Way too much concentrated chemistry. Look at nature. Always use nature as your barometer. I was talking to some young man in the UK yesterday with cerebral palsy. Fantastic soul. This guy's so aware that when he was young, he was asking high spiritual questions as a youth. You know, like, why are you drinking milk? No animal drinks milk. And he was a little tot asking that of his dad. I thought he was very aware. And the things he was telling me that he was observing as a child, he was using nature as his barometer. And that's what we got to do. That's the laboratory, not man's laboratory. Nature is the laboratory. Look at this biosphere. This biosphere supports untold amount of creatures. To do that, can imagine how everything has to intertwine to support that level of different species. Amazing stuff. And so I use that as my barometer, and since I consider us tropical species, use that as a barometer. I think coconut is your really fine nut. Now, I am a lover of pine and pignolia nuts. Expensive, very oily nut. If I say anything about oils, that would be my second choice for children. They're very doable. You can mix pine nuts with raisins if you want. Nice little snack. Get plenty of fatty acids for brain and nerve growth. Again, when we have this idea that more is better in this country, and it is not. It is about digestion, absorption, and utilization. We're focusing on elimination because we've failed so much at what we've failed at what we've ingested in terms of the types of food, which has broken down our eliminative organs. So to get better digestion and absorption and utilization, we have to go to the butt end of the donkey. We have to start from elimination first and work our way to proper digestion, absorption, and utilization. We can't start with proper digestion. Can't do it anymore. You got to go to the back and work from the back end, and you'll be much more successful with that when you do that. I don't have a lot longer. They're going to pull the curtain on me here in a minute. So again, your questions are so great, and I'm really humbled that you keep with me here and keep on these things. This is Yoga by Kate. Love you, dear. Great to see you again. Great to see you. Thanks for uplifting presence. Thank you so much. The question is, I know you don't like digestive enzymes, but is there a downside to taking pancreas glandulars? No, not at all. I would rather see you take a pancreatic glandular, which affects the cells in terms of an energetic way, as opposed to taking what they need to produce. It is so much better to deal with making cells healthy. And glandulars are more aimed at cell energetics as opposed to what cells are producing. You know, when it comes to the endocrine glands, when we deal with what cells are producing, we then lose the cell. And we see this in the medical world a lot with the steroid use. Bad thing to do. We had another case yesterday, heavy steroids all of her life. Of course, now she can't produce her own well. So there's some trouble with the adrenal glands, and you can't do that in that way. So yeah, you could do that. I've read that both the Gerson therapy and Dr. Nick Gonzalez used this to break down tumors. Well, I think it's ridiculous to think you're going to use digestive enzymes to break down tumors. I think that's insane. I think that that is ridiculous. I don't see that at all. Understand what a tumor is. It's not just something that grows there for no reason. It's a backed up lymph system. Tumors are just lymph fluids or interstitial fluids. That's where you see the 1/4 blood, 3/4 lymph. That's all tumors and cysts are. They're holding tanks, they're closets, they're storage rooms. And when you get the kidneys filtering, these all storage rooms come out. The enzymes are not going to digest them enough. I guess if you maybe inserted them, but we're talking about a tumor that's full of acid fluid. So, it is better to understand what forms them and go after that way. That's the problem with some of these individuals. They don't focus on so much of the causative factors, and you got to get the kidneys. But in due respect to this, we're one of the few people that only think about the kidneys in terms of the elimination of the lymph system. This is not the theory of the allopathic community dominated even holistic thinking. And you see that still today, where allopathic thinking has dominated natural health thinking, and that's why we should never let that happen. That's why a lot of people get arrested for treating diseases, but practicing medicine without a license. The problem is, who wants to practice medicine? There's a lot of people that egotistically want to practice medicine. Why? It's a top killing machine on the planet. It's hurt more people than anything else out there. So it's kind of sad that we feel that modality has to be brought up on a pedestal even more. Wondering if pancreas glandular would be good to do in conjunction with your diet. Yeah, absolutely, dear one. Hey, Dr. Morse, this is Rat Face Kick. That's an interesting name, Rat Face Kick. Yeah. Hey, Dr. Morse, what do you think of the body ecology diet? I'm really curious because I have pretty bad dysbiosis in my gut, in my gut, and was wondering if you thought that would be an okay starting point for me because I can't handle the high fruit diet. The sugars make me crash. You might be the guy we're working with. Well, go back to the vegetables first. Go slower. If you have to have some cooked or steamed vegetables, absolutely. Get on those herbs for the GI tract, though. Really pull that out. Use maybe the Parasite M capsules, but definitely use the lymphatic one capsules, the stomach and bowel, whatever one you need, and pull all that out of there, and then you'll be good. And then you'll be able to add more fruits. Add whatever fruits you can when you can. Start out slow, and we talked about this before. Sometimes you have to start out a little slow in your life, especially if fruits are so impactive to tissue that sometimes you have to slow up and put a little honey on it, like a little of this moving to Idaho honey. This is unbelievable honey from a lovely soul. Fresh honey. All right. Lovely ones, thank you so much for all your questions, and hopefully Chris will get this up this morning for you, and we've got so much more to cover tomorrow. Like I said, I'll try to come in here for 2 or 3 hours and catch up too, but I hope I got all these. There seems to be a lot of concern about reason about detoxifying symptoms and healing. Oh yeah, I got this. Okay, thank you so much. You guys have a lovely day and have fun, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now.